guys, watch for loading here. Today we're going to move forward in our 38 special series that we're working on here, and today we're going to set up the Dillon carbide sizing die, and we're also probably going to get to getting the powder funnel set up for the flare expansion. It should be pretty close, if not dead on, because this tool head was already set up for this particular load that we're going to be working on. And just so everyone knows, we're going to be using a 125 grain flat point plated bullet, and these are pretty readily available. I think these are from Extreme, but you know, one thing I want to touch on too, since these are plated, using the taper crimp is going to work out just great for this particular load. You know, we're using, you know, like a full metal jacket with a real nice deep cantilure. Using that roll crimp to really get a good bite into that cantilure to keep the bullet from moving around once the cartridge is complete. Again, it's going to be a mild load, 38 special, so using the plated bullets and the taper crimp is going to work out fantastic. So let's jump into getting this sizing die set up. So we install our sizing die into Station 1, and what's really cool about these aftermarket tool heads, I have not had any issues with these, and they come in a bunch of different colors. I think these ones are JF USA. You can find them, I believe, on Amazon, eBay, or directly on their website. But again, our sizing die is going to go in Station 1, so the first thing I like to do always is get my lock ring all the way to the top, and it might be a little tricky with the powder measure already in place, but we're just going to go ahead and, yep, it's going to be tricky. So we're going to have to move that lock ring down a little bit, and we're just going to start threading this in. I'm going to get a few threads in, and then we are going to jump around and we're going to seat this on the shell plate, and then I'll probably throw a case in there just so we can, when we button this up, we were buttoning it up with what it's actually supposed to be doing, and that's a good practice to get into. It keeps everything real nice and concentric, and it builds a lot of consistency into your reloading process. So let's get this die finished, seated down and set up. Alright, so I got my shell plate in the upright position, and I'm going to thread this die body down until it makes contact with the shell plate, and that's really all I'm doing. I'm not doing any cam over or anything like that. That's not ideal for this style of press, but we're just going to make contact. So I got firm contact there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a case in there and go ahead and button it up after I get a case in the sizing die. Alright, now that I have my die making light contact with the shell plate, I'm going to go ahead and take one of our cases, drop it into our case feed adapter. I'm going to move it into the shell plate and then bring it up into the sizing die like so. And now that I have a case inside the sizing die, it's being sized, I know that my die alignment is concentric, and I'm okay to go ahead and button this up. So I'm going to run my lock ring down, grab my lock ring wrench, and just snug it up like so. So now this die is set and ready to go, and we'll do a quick verification. I'll throw it in the case gauge here in a second, and we'll just make sure our sizing is where it needs to be. Alright, so I got our first size case right here, and I have a Dillon case gauge here. Many companies make really nice case gauges. My favorite is probably L.E. Wilson. These Dillon ones are nice as well. But we have our size case. We want to make sure that it drops into our case gauge nice and flush, and that it falls out. So we know that our sizing die is set and ready to go. And so now we're going to work on doing our case mouth expansion so that we can get our bullet in there. And we won't set up the powder measure just yet, but we're going to get that powder funnel set up so that we get good expansion, not too much, just enough for that bullet to sit on top, and then we'll move through the other stations, seating the bullet and crimping. But the work we're going to be doing right now is in station number 2 on the tool head, so let's jump into that. So we have our size case in station 2, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set this so that we get just enough case mouth expansion that the bullet will sit on top of the case without falling over. We don't want to get too much case mouth expansion because we're just going to prematurely wear out the brass. We're going to work hard on that that end of the case mouth where it could potentially crack. I'm fairly confident that this one is already ready to go. So we're just going to run it up in there, and if we need to make it smaller, larger, whatever, we'll make those adjustments by running the powder die up and down to accommodate the diameter that we're looking for. So let's go ahead and run one up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set a bullet on, and it should set in there just like that. It looks pretty good, actually. Should basically just set inside of it, just enough expansion so that we're not scraping off any plating, but the bullet should just sit right on top there, just like so. So I'm going to call that pretty good. Actually, I could probably get away with just a little bit more flare. It is pretty tight, so to make that adjustment, it's real simple. Again, my powder measure is loose here. I'm just going to loosen up that lock ring and just give it a little bit more, not much. I'm going to stick the case back in there. I guess I already did. I'm going to run it up, and I'm going to go ahead and set my lock ring again. Again, I think it's smart to just lock things down with whatever you're doing in that station. If you're seating, crimping, whatever, make that die, that final locking adjustment, make it with a case in the station that you're working on. So let's go ahead and check our expansion. Yeah, that's pretty good. I can basically just set the bullet in there. It stays in, doesn't want to tip over. So we're going to call that good. All right. So now let's move on. We need to do some adjustment on this case feeder slide on the magazine here. We need to make a slight adjustment because when I noticed when I was putting the sizing die in, it was a little too tight for this particular rim. So I'm going to show you how to make that adjustment here real quick. So this slide adjustment's pretty important. We want to make sure that we adjust this so that, I'm going to throw a case in here. As you can see, it's going in and bottoming out a little prematurely, and it's causing this to get a little wonky. A lot of times you'll have to adjust this for each diameter of case that you're using. So in this case, I see that it's a little snug, and it's mainly due to the size of the rim there. So we're going to make that adjustment so that, got a little hair on there, so that it works as it's supposed to. So we're going to need a adjustable wrench and I think it's an 1/8 inch Allen wrench. And then let me just double check here. Yep, 1/8 inch. So I'm going to grab an adjustable wrench. We're going to loosen this jam nut, and then I'm going to show you how to make this adjustment. All right, so I got the jam nut backed off, and I want to show you guys actually how this works. This adjustment shaft here, it's threaded on top. It actuates or moves this slide off of this ramp here that's molded into the plastic. So when we push forward, what we're wanting to do is set the case, the rim of the case, into the shell plate completely, no more, no less. So I want to show you guys how this actually works. I'm going to try to do this here on camera. There we go. But as it's pushing forward, we can make adjustments to how far this feed ramp goes in by turning the shaft here. So what we want to do is adjust this so that we're taking the case all the way into the shell plate, just kissing it off the back side, and then we're going to call that a good adjustment. So I'm going to move the camera around so I can show you what I'm trying to accomplish with this adjustment right here. Alright, so I'm going to show you the proper way to adjust this sliding mechanism here, and we'll do a split screen so you can see what adjustment I'm making as we go through this. We're going to give that a try, but as you can see, when we push forward, our case is not fully seated into the shell plate. So to fix that, what we want to do is keep our pressure forward onto the handle, and then we're going to make an adjustment with the adjustable shaft here with our 1/8 inch Allen wrench. So as you can see, as I'm turning it counterclockwise, it's pushing the case into the shell plate. And then once we get it right about there, we're fully into the shell plate. We're going to call that good. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold the shaft in place, run down my jam nut, and I'm going to lock it into place with an adjustable wrench. Just snug, and that is fully adjusted and ready to go. Alright guys, so in this video on our 38 Special, we got our sizing die set up. We got our powder funnel and our expansion set up to where it needs to be. And then also we adjusted the case feed slide there with the threaded shaft. And I hope, I get a lot of questions on that. Guys struggle with the cases not aligning up with the die when they push the handle forward. So hopefully that helps some of you guys out struggling with that issue. I wanted to make sure I covered it in this video. So in the next video, we're going to go ahead and get that bullet seated, get our crimp set, and fill that powder measure, and we're going to start making some ammunition. So that's all good stuff. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on my email, squatchreloading@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at squatchreloading. And if you like these videos, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share these with all your friends. But until next time, guys, God bless.